Good afternoon, everyone. I considered myself quite fortunate to be granted the opportunity to interview the late Christopher Hitchens, who's pictured here. In spring 2008, Christopher was in London promoting his book, a re-evaluation of the previously entitled The Elgin Marbles, Should They Be Returned to Greece, now renamed The Parthenon Marbles, The Case for Reunification. As he explained at the time, the purpose behind renaming the book was to give a new direction to this unique cause, as earlier requests to repatriate the sculptures had met with stubborn opposition. Put simply, the nub of the argument now was that the sculptures must be seen as a unified whole, as part of a continuous narrative in their original context. For example, one of the many impressive metopaes in the British Museum sees a lapith lunging at a centaur. The heads of both are in Athens. In another metope, a lapith is rolled backwards over a water jar. Heads of both the centaur and the lapith are in Athens. A Vanity Fair contributing editor, top public intellectual and polemicist, Christopher Hitchens made lasting impressions on many people. A review I read recently of his memoir, Hitch 22, on Amazon, made me smile. The reviewer in question had met with him briefly, describing the meeting as the best 10 minutes of his year. Hitch, he writes, had not given up smoking. How do I know? Because I stood talking to him as he smoked 2 cigarettes, holding his coffee cup at one point as he lit a second immediately after finishing the first. I thought you'd given up smoking, I said. I have, he replied. Before my interview with him got underway, the wonderful Marlene Taffarello of the BCRPM took to the local supermarket with a keen sense of urgency when she later returned to present him with a glass of Black Label whiskey, water, no ice. He looked becalmed, and there was a definite twinkle in his eye. And I think these lovely anecdotes give us some impression of his bon vivant personality. Those who followed closely Hitchens's writings will know that he was extremely well read. Indeed, Socrates' maxim, "The unexamined life is not worth living," seems to have rung true for him. Not only did he examine the lives of others through his unequaled journalism and books, he, as his memoir shows, reflected on his own personal beliefs. Whether or not you agreed with some of his politics or stance on religion, much of which he felt had an adverse effect on people's lives in some parts of the world, particularly in areas of conflict or poverty, you could not help but admire his zeal for intellectual discourse, his verbal acuity, integrity, humanity, or the judicious way with which he communicated his thoughts. The overriding impression was that he didn't seek to intimidate as to educate. Widely recognized as a formidable opponent in any debate, the evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins has been famously quoted as saying, "If you are invited to debate with Christopher Hitchens, decline." His witty repartee, his ready access store of historical quotations, his bookish eloquence, his effortless flow of well-formed words would threaten your arguments even if you had good ones to deploy. Christopher Hitchens deployed his extensive knowledge and reason to advance the Parthenon campaign, In his view, Greece's domestic and political position was irrelevant. This was a matter of principle. The Greek people had a natural right to their heritage, to have the marbles in Athens displayed in that light, in that air. When the Parthenon sculptures go back to Greece, many people here will recognize that this will have been an extremely hard-won battle, but one that Hitch, as he came to be known, believed was worth fighting for. As Greece faces an advent of political change and varying degrees of uncertainty, I think he would have considered it now just that the sculptures finally be returned to their mother country, the birthplace of democracy. Thank you.